Hello and welcome to Lyla's Lullabies, where we spend time exploring with Lyla, a traveler who wanders the world at her own pace, while sharing her most enriching and restorative moments with you. In tonight's story we'll follow Lyla as she explores the fascinating city of Tokyo in springtime. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to remember. Just settle in, get comfortable, and let yourself go. We're so glad you're here. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. Lyla emerged from Asakusa Station into the soft morning light of early April. Cherry blossom season just ending. A few late petals still clinging to branches, drifting occasionally to the ground like pink snow. The air was mild and fresh, perfect for the long day of exploration she had planned, a journey through Tokyo's layers, from ancient temple district to traditional neighborhoods to modern urban centers. She walked toward Kaminarimon, the Thunder Gate, following the flow of early morning visitors. The massive red gate appeared ahead, the enormous paper lantern hanging from its center, the guardian deities Fujin and Raijin standing watch on either side, their fierce expressions unchanged across centuries. She paused before passing through, taking a moment to appreciate the gate's presence, the way it marked transition from everyday streets to sacred space. A few other early visitors were there, and she noticed how many Japanese visitors bowed slightly before passing through, a gesture of respect so natural, it seemed unconscious. Beyond the gate, Nakamise Street stretched toward the temple, its shops just opening, shutters being raised, displays being arranged. The covered shopping street was quiet at this early hour, creating an almost meditative passage towards Sen Sohg. She walked slowly, looking at the traditional goods displayed, delicate fans painted with seasonal motifs, pottery and ceramics, traditional sweets arranged in perfect rows, prayer beads and incense. Each shop was its own small world, carefully curated, everything positioned with attention to aesthetics. The second gate, Hojirachmon, appeared ahead, larger and more elaborate, and beyond it, the main hall of Sensoji itself, the temple's curved roof rising gracefully, the morning light catching the details of its red and gold decoration. At the purification fountain, she performed the cleansing ritual, watching others to ensure she did it correctly, the cold water and deliberate movements creating a pause, a transition. The large incense burner in front of the main hall was already surrounded by visitors, the fragrant smoke rising in thick clouds, people wafting it toward themselves for purification and blessing. She joined them at the incense burner, breathing the rich sandalwood scent, then approached the main hall, following the prayer ritual, coin in the offering box, bow twice, clap twice, bow again, silent moment of respect, final bow. The movements felt meaningful, even without religious belief, a way of honoring this place and what it represented. After spending time at the temple, watching the morning light strengthen, observing other visitors in their various practices, she left through a side exit and began walking north, heading toward Ueno. The route took her through Kappa Bahshi, the famous kitchen supply district, where shops sold everything a restaurant might need: knives and cookware, plastic food samples, dishes and serving pieces, professional equipment. Even this early, some shops were open, and she paused to look in windows displaying impossibly realistic plastic sushi and tempura, the craftsmanship extraordinary, each piece hand-painted and detailed. The plastic food samples were both practical, helping customers see what they were ordering, and art objects in their own right. The walk to Ueno took about 30 minutes, the neighborhoods transitioning, showing different aspects of Tokyo. Residential streets with narrow houses, small shrines tucked between buildings, vending machines on every corner, the city's density creating a vertical quality, everything stacked and layered. Ueno Park appeared ahead, a vast green space, and she entered through one of the gates, immediately feeling the shift from urban to natural. The park offering breathing room in the dense city. The cherry trees here were famous, and though the peak blossoms had passed, the trees were beautiful with their fresh green leaves, a few late petals still visible. She walked through the park, following paths that wound between museums and monuments, past the large pond where lotus flowers would bloom in summer, through areas where families were already gathering for hanami parties despite the season's end, the tradition of flower viewing so ingrained that even late blossoms warranted celebration. The park was peaceful and expansive, offering glimpses of different Tokyo eras, the traditional wooden architecture of temples and shrines within the park, the Western-style museum buildings from the Meiji period, modern sculptures and installations, all of it coexisting, creating a historical layering. She emerged from the park near Amehyuko Market, the bustling shopping street under the train tracks, already busy despite the morning hour. The market's energy was different from the temples, loud and commercial, vendors calling out, selling everything from fresh fish to clothing to cosmetics, the atmosphere vibrant and democratic. She stopped at a small coffee stand and ordered a coffee, served in a paper cup, simple and strong. The vendor, a cheerful man with quick hands, made small talk in a mix of Japanese and English, asking where she was from, telling her to enjoy Tokyo. The coffee was exactly what she needed, warming and energizing. From Ueno, she walked to Nippori Station and took the junior line, the train arriving within minutes, efficient and clean as always. The trains in Tokyo still amazed her, their punctuality, cleanliness, the way millions of people used them daily without chaos. The system working through a combination of infrastructure and shared social agreement about behavior. Nippori Station was less grand than others, more neighborhood-focused, and when she emerged, the area felt different from what she'd seen so far, quieter, more residential, the old Tokyo that still existed beneath the modern city. She found Yanaka Ginza, the traditional shopping street, and walked down it slowly. The street was charming and intimate. A pedestrian lane, lined with small shops selling traditional goods, cafes and restaurants, everything human-scaled and welcoming. This was Shitamachi, old Tokyo, working-class neighborhoods that had somehow survived the war and the redevelopment, preserving a way of life. The shops sold practical things alongside tourist items, rice crackers and tea, handmade crafts and ceramics, fresh flowers and vegetables. An elderly shopkeeper was sweeping in front of her store, and she smiled and nodded as Lyla passed, the friendliness genuine and uncomplicated. Lyla found a small soba shop for lunch, its entrance marked by a traditional no-ren curtain. Inside, it was simple and clean, with a counter and a few tables, the menu handwritten in Japanese with small pictures. She ordered kaki soba, hot noodles in broth, and watched as the chef prepared it, his movements economical and practiced. The noodles arrived in a beautiful ceramic bowl, the broth clear and fragrant, made from dashi and soy sauce, garnished with green onions and a piece of nori seaweed. The noodles were perfect, firm and nutty, the buckwheat flavor pronounced, the broth warming and savory. She ate slowly, using chopsticks to lift the noodles, slurping as was proper, the sound indicating appreciation. The simplicity of the dish allowed the quality of ingredients to show, the craft evident in every element. After lunch, she walked back to Nippori Station and took the junior Yamanote line toward Shibuya, the train circumnavigating Tokyo, showing glimpses of different neighborhoods through the windows, high-rises and low buildings, parks and parking lots, the endless city scrolling past. She got off at Shibuya, but immediately walked toward Daikonyama, wanting to see this quieter, more sophisticated neighborhood before experiencing Shibuya's famous energy. The walk took her uphill, away from the station's bustle, and the atmosphere changed almost immediately. Daikonyama was elegant and understated. Tree-lined streets, boutiques selling carefully curated goods, cafes with minimalist design, the whole area feeling like a village within the city, exclusive but not ostentatious. She found T-Site, the TSO Otaya bookstore complex, and understood immediately why it was considered one of Tokyo's most beautiful spaces. The buildings were modern but warm, with glass walls and wooden details, surrounded by trees and gardens, creating an environment that invited lingering. Inside, the bookstore was extraordinary. Shelves of books in Japanese and English, music and film sections, a travel area with maps and guides, cafe spaces integrated throughout, everything designed to encourage browsing and discovery. The atmosphere was quiet and respectful, people reading in comfortable chairs, studying at tables, the space functioning as both commercial and communal. She browsed for a while, picking up books, reading a few pages, appreciating the curation. The travel section was particularly impressive, with guides to obscure destinations alongside popular ones, photography books capturing different cultures, maps both practical and artistic. From Daikanyama, she walked downhill toward Nakameguro Roh, following streets that curved and descended, the neighborhood gradually becoming more urban, more active. The Meguro River appeared ahead, lined with cherry trees. And though the blossoms had mostly fallen, the trees were still beautiful, their branches creating a canopy over the water. She walked along the river path, joining others enjoying the mild afternoon. The area had a relaxed, almost European feel. Cafes and boutiques lining the river, people sitting at outdoor tables, the pace slower than central Tokyo, the atmosphere encouraging rather than demanding. Small boats moved on the water, and ducks paddled near the banks. In cherry blossom season, this path would be overwhelmed with visitors, but now, in the post-bloom period, it was peaceful and lovely, the green leaves fresh and bright. She stopped at a small cafe with seating overlooking the river, and ordered a matcha latte, wanting a break before heading to Shibuya. The drink came beautifully presented, the green tea powder whisked with milk, creating layers of color, served with a small cookie shaped like a cherry blossom. She sat by the window sipping her latte, watching people pass along the river path, couples holding hands, people walking dogs, a few joggers, everyone moving at that relaxed weekend pace even though it was a weekday. Tokyo's ability to create pockets of calm within its intensity evident here. When she felt ready, she walked toward Shibuya, the energy shifting as she approached, the quiet of Meguro giving way to the urban intensity Shibuya was famous for. The station appeared ahead, massive and modern, and the crowds increased with every step. She emerged at Shibuya Crossing, and even expecting it, the reality was overwhelming. The famous intersection, where 5 major crosswalks converged, creating a scramble crossing, where hundreds of people walked in all directions simultaneously when the lights changed. She positioned herself at the edge, and watched through several light cycles. The pattern was fascinating. The complete halt of all traffic, then the signal change, then the flood of people from all sides, somehow navigating without collision. The whole thing choreographed by invisible social agreements, everyone moving with purpose but accommodating others. After watching from street level, she made her way to the Starbucks in the building overlooking the crossing, climbing to the upper floor where windows provided the famous view. From above, the crossing's geometry was even more apparent, the flow of people creating patterns, the urban density and organization both visible. She watched for a while, mesmerized by the constant flow, the way Tokyo managed to function despite its enormous population, the infrastructure and social norms combining to create order from potential chaos. Back on the street, she walked through Center-gai, the pedestrian shopping street that led from the station into Shibuya's heart. The area was busy and bright. Shops selling fashion and electronics, restaurants and arcades, giant video screens displaying advertisements. The sensory input almost overwhelming but also exhilarating. She turned down side streets, finding the smaller bars and restaurants that existed just off the main thoroughfares, the Tokyo that locals knew. The evening was approaching, and restaurants were opening for dinner, lanterns being lit, menus being displayed. She found a small izakaya, a traditional pub, its entrance marked by a simple curtain and a wooden sign. Inside, it was intimate and warm, a long counter with stools, a few small tables, the walls decorated with handwritten specials and sake bottles, the atmosphere welcoming and unpretentious. She sat at the counter, and the chef, a man with a friendly face and quick laugh, greeted her in Japanese, then switched to English when he saw her hesitation. "First time?" he asked. "Yes, first time here. First time in an izakaya." "Ah, welcome, welcome. I'll take care of you. You like Japanese food?" "Very much." "Good. I'll bring you some things. Trust me, okay?" She agreed, happy to let him choose, and he began preparing dishes. They arrived steadily. Edamame, perfectly salted, chicken karaage, fried crispy and served with lemon. Grilled fish, simple and fresh. Yakitori skewers, the chicken glazed with tare sauce. Each dish was simple, but perfectly executed, the kind of food that showed respect for ingredients and tradition. Between dishes, the chef chatted with her, asking about her day, telling her about the neighborhood, making jokes with other customers at the counter, creating a convivial atmosphere. Other patrons, mostly locals after work, talked and laughed, the izakaya functioning as community space, a place to decompress and connect. She ordered a small sake, and the chef poured it carefully, explaining it was from Niigata, known for clean, crisp sake. The sake was smooth and slightly sweet, complementing the food perfectly. After dinner, Satisfied and happy, she made her way to Shibuya Sky, the observation deck on top of Shibuya Scramble Square. The elevator rose swiftly, her ears popping slightly, and when the doors opened, the view took her breath away. Tokyo spread in every direction, lights marking streets and buildings, the city vast beyond comprehension. She could see Tokyo Tower in one direction, the Sky Tree in another, the pattern of highways and rivers, the geometric precision of city planning visible from this height. The observation deck had both indoor and outdoor sections, and she walked outside, the wind strong at this height, the evening air cool. The sunset was in progress, the western sky showing oranges and pinks, the colors reflected in the glass towers below creating a secondary display. Other visitors were there, taking photos, pointing out landmarks, but the space was large enough that it never felt crowded. She found a spot at the railing, and stood watching the light change, the day transitioning to night, the city transforming from its daylight self to its illuminated evening aspect. The sky deepened through its spectrum, orange to pink to purple to deep blue, and as it darkened, the city's lights became more prominent, more definitive. The Shibuya crossing was visible far below, tiny figures still crossing in their eternal patterns, and further out, the city stretched away, neighborhoods and districts, each with its own character and energy, all of it connected by the train network and the shared identity of being Tokyo. She thought about her day, about the journey from Asakusa to here, from ancient temple to modern observation deck, from quiet traditional neighborhoods to the electric energy of Shibuya. Each area had been distinct but recognizably Tokyo, part of the same organism, the same cultural expression. The city managed to preserve its past while embracing its future, to maintain tradition while innovating, to honor ritual while celebrating contemporary culture. The temples and the skyscrapers, the traditional shops and the electronic billboards, the quiet gardens and the busy crossings, all of it was Tokyo, all of it necessary to understanding the whole. She remained on the observation deck as night fully arrived, watching the city glow, feeling grateful and slightly awed by Tokyo's scale and complexity, by the way millions of people made their lives here, navigating the density and the traditions, the social expectations and the creative freedoms, creating something that was uniquely Japanese, and uniquely urban, ancient and cutting-edge, chaotic and orderly, all at once. The wind picked up, and she pulled her jacket closer, but she wasn't ready to leave yet. The view was too beautiful, the sense of Tokyo's vastness too compelling. She walked around the deck seeing the city from different angles, each direction offering new landmarks, new patterns of light. Below, Shibuya continued its evening life, the crossing filling and emptying with each light cycle, the streets busy with people going to dinner or entertainment, the energy perpetual. Tomorrow the city would wake and do it all again. The rhythms continuing, the trains running, the temples opening, the shops selling, the millions of individual lives intersecting and diverging, creating the larger pattern that was Tokyo's daily existence. Eventually she rode the elevator back down, emerging into Shibuya Station's enormous complex, following signs toward the correct train line, navigating the maze of platforms and passages, with the help of clear signage and polite station staff. On the train back to her hotel, she watched her reflection in the dark window, the day's images playing through her mind, the temple gates and the shopping streets, the quiet neighborhoods and the river walk, the bookstore's beauty and the crossing's chaos, the food and the conversations, the sunset from above. Tokyo had been generous with her, had revealed many of its faces, had invited her to move through its layers at her own pace. She felt respectful of what she'd seen, aware that a single day could only offer glimpses, that truly knowing Tokyo would require years, that the city's depth and complexity were beyond any quick understanding. But the glimpses had been beautiful and meaningful, had given her a sense of Tokyo's character, its way of balancing old and new, quiet and loud, tradition and innovation. The city honored its past through temples and traditional crafts while creating the future through technology and design, managed to be both deeply Japanese and internationally cosmopolitan, maintained order within density, created beauty within utility. The train carried her through the night, past neighborhoods lit and active, past stations where people boarded and exited, the system working with its characteristic precision. Outside the window, Tokyo continued, vast and alive, a city of layers and contradictions, of moments both ancient and immediate, offering gifts to anyone willing to walk its streets and ride its trains and look with respectful curiosity at all it had to offer.